into Rock Solid Sports. It's Wednesday night. I'm Chloe here down at Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. We thank them for their support. American Craft Food, Beer, and Cocktails, a 21-foot digital big screen TV indoors, and plenty more TVs throughout the restaurant, and a back patio open at 11 a.m. Wednesdays through Sundays, closed on Mondays, and they're open again on Tuesdays. I'm here tonight, and I'm going to be giving away some tickets to the baseball game on Friday, SEC home opener versus Ole Miss. And we actually have a six-pack to give away tonight, so you can be here to enter until 8 p.m. We will draw that winner at 8 p.m. Maybe right before 8 p.m. before our show goes off the air, so we'll be able to announce it on the air. They also have trivia going on tonight at Fieldhouse Social, so definitely lots of things to do, lots of reasons to be down here for sure. We'd love to see you. And I am here tonight with Jace and Alex. How are you guys doing tonight? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, doing all right here tonight. Had a little bit of technical difficulties to start things off, but I think Jacquez is going to be joining you at Fieldhouse Social here soon, so should have a full crew coming in tonight.
I'm doing all right as well. It's so good to be back. It's that special time of the year coming up tomorrow. I cannot wait to break it down with you guys.
Absolutely. It's time for March Madness, and I just want to reiterate, already have one person enter tonight in our giveaway for the six-pack of tickets. So your chances are definitely still there, 100%. But let's get started right away with some basketball. I think that's kind of the most prominent thing right now. Basketball happening, and both men and women's. It's going to be super exciting. Tennessee, of course, goes out of the SEC championship early to Mississippi State, and then they are found as the number 2 seed. So that kind of ruined their chances of being the number 1 to Arizona. But Tennessee still in it to win it, still in the tournament as a 2 seed. I filled out my bracket. Hope you guys have until tomorrow at noon. Is that correct? I can't be sure. I
think it's close to that. I think the first game tips off at like
12:15
p.m. Yeah, and it's supposed to be a good one. I think it's like Mississippi State, Michigan State, so it should be a fun at least start to the tournament if Izzo's playing.
Absolutely. So that's happening right now. First 4 as well happening right now, actually. But anyways, I wanted to ask you guys, as far as we'll talk about Tennessee in this tournament first. As far as Tennessee in the tournament, they play, of course, was it St. Peter? Oh, gosh.
Yes. Yeah,
St. Peter's on Friday, right? Or Thursday. Sorry.
And it's going to be at like 9:30 at night. Such a late tip.
I knew it was one of the last games that I kept scrolling down to find it, but it kept not showing up. Anyways, 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. Tennessee's playing St. Peter's. I guess a big storyline here is Zakai Ziegler's brother plays for St. Peter's, so that's pretty cool. But as far as these two teams facing off and going on, what are just your general predictions in these first couple of rounds, at least? We'll stay to the first couple of rounds, maybe get a little bit more ambitious here in a little bit. But what do you guys foresee for Tennessee in these first few rounds of the tournament?
After watching the first 4 game last night between Colorado State and Virginia, it went about as I was expecting. I personally took the under in that game, which was at 120.5. That hit, and I also took the Colorado State spread, which I think was 2.5. So everything went well for me last night. That game stunk. I hope nobody had to sit through that like most everybody else that I know did. But, first round against St. Peter's, this is not the same St. Peter's that we saw take down Kentucky a couple years back and make a deep run into this tournament. I don't think they're going to be nearly as lethal. I think, of course, in March, anything can happen, so that's always going to keep you on your toes. But I don't think this team can really compete with how Tennessee has played all year despite these last 2 weeks. But beyond that, first round shouldn't be too bad. Second round also shouldn't be too bad if you play the way that you know how to. We've seen the ceiling that this team has, and that means that they can beat anybody in this country pretty handily if they can play as one unit. But on those off nights where maybe Dalton Connect isn't feeling it and some of the role guys aren't feeling it either, it could be really tricky, especially if you run into that Texas team who's been kind of streaky this year. But it should be a pretty smooth ride to the Sweet 16 before you start facing some of those higher tier opponents.
I feel like it's never a smooth ride for Tennessee.
Oh, it never is. That's the only thing. Knowing that it's Tennessee, it never is.
But you mentioned the first 4 games from last night. I mean, how do you go from a game in Howard Wagner that was like a 10-point game the whole time through, and then right at the end, it had that little flair that March always has where they cut it to a 1-possession game, had chances at the end to send it to overtime, but couldn't get it done. And then you go watch the Colorado State-Virginia game where it's bad when they have to put up a little bloop at the bottom that says they have not scored since, and they put a time. It was like
not even a game time.
It was a game time.
It was time of day.
And it was like
an hour
or so of no baskets by Virginia. I think they broke it with 1 free throw, maybe.
Something like that.
I am so glad. I hate that they stole a bid from a team like St. John's or Indiana State.
Yes.
I mean, that's tragic because that would have been a fun first 4 game. But hats off to that Colorado State team. I'm a little scared of them, I'll be honest. That seems like one of those teams that could take us down. I could see them upsetting Texas. I actually have a few brackets where they do that. Because Texas, like you mentioned, they're a little up and down. I know I watched them play one time against Louisville this year. It was earlier this year, and they played, I think it came down to a last-second shot against Louisville, and we know how good Louisville is. So, but I anticipate that this St. Peter's team should, if the magic of March, because, Purdue should have in all questions, and no questions asked, should have beat FDU last year. All the metrics pointed that way, and it didn't happen. So, you never know in this special time of year, but we should take care of St. Peter's. There is no metric that has them anywhere near us in any category whatsoever. So we just got to play our game. I agree with you. We should be able to make the Sweet 16. No questions asked. If not, I don't know about this team, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. St. Peter's obviously should be taken care of. However, like we said, we can't use that term, obviously, come March because we really don't know. At St. Peter's, I hope not because this would be bad, but I don't want another, FAU scenario. If they do come up, that would be fun, to have like a little Cinderella team for the heck of it. But I don't want the Cinderella team to be one that we're playing, obviously.
It always happens. It feels like in the last years we've ran into
sure
that
does.
team. Like I think it was probably my freshman year whenever we ran into Oregon State, who was a 12 seed who ended up in the Final Four. Like, how do you make that up? After all Loyola Chicago, stuff like that. It's unbearable.
Absolutely. And just looking, I made 3 brackets. I made one that's optimistic, I made one that's realistic, and I made one that I'm like, this probably isn't going to happen, but this is just another 3rd bracket. I just want to say I love, this isn't even, it's sports related, but I love looking at the celebrities brackets. Biden's women bracket, absolutely terrible. Iowa's not going to go out to Colorado. No. But anyways, that's just a random thing. Anyways, like we were saying, if the Cinderella team is against us, I would hope not, but it is like a fun little storyline there with Zakai Ziegler's brother being on that team as well. As far as I agree with everything you guys said. If all things are working as they should, the way this team is supposed to work, I think that Tennessee can do really well. They should make it to the Sweet 16. Should. But again, I don't really know at this point. Especially with the way the last couple of games have gone, we're just going to have to see how it will go. I want to know how you guys feel about, let's see. So we all think we're going to beat St. Peter's. And then obviously the next round would be either Texas or Colorado State going into that. I guess we could, I don't really want to move on to the next round yet because I want to save that for next. Any other just like in general comments, any teams you guys think are going to go out early to like top 3 seeded teams to an upset?
All day.
Yeah, there's a few. I know there's some sneaky ones. I'm not sure if I would go into the top 3 just yet. I think the top 3 seeds across the board are pretty solid. Baylor's a little bit iffy against Colgate, but I think that might be the only question mark. The one that I was looking at, and I think most of America is probably that Kansas-Samford matchup. I've been talking about this one for pretty much ever since the bracket dropped. I'm like, okay, this Samford's team can put up some points, and Kansas does not like to really do that, and Samford can put the 3 ball in. Kansas can't really. And another thing for Kansas, they're going to be without Kevin McCullough, their top player on that offense for the entire tournament, however long they're in there. So, and they're also bringing in, of course, Hunter Dickinson coming out of Michigan. He's coming off an injury too, so he's a little bit banged up. So that's just sort of a nightmare scenario for Kansas there. And it's a Samford team that's been having fun all year long, only 5 losses on the year. And they're averaging like 86 points a game, very efficient on the offensive end. And though they might not have the height that Kansas has, they can really push that tempo and make the Jayhawks uncomfortable.
I do agree with that. I do enjoy that, especially with the news of their top star being out. I do worry, though, because I feel like a lot of people are on that pick, along with like McNeese, with Will Wade, and the weaker Gonzaga team that just lost their conference tournament. But I just don't know how much. I mean, when everybody's on it, it never happens that way. But I wonder about a team like, I know this isn't a double-digit seed, but you look at a team like BYU. BYU has played consistently good ball all year coming into the Big 12, a conference that is notorious for eating up the teams that reside in it. They have a path that is really interesting. They go against Duquesne, a team that snuck in out of the A-10. Their coach is going out. This is his last hurrah.
This is their first tournament in 47 years.
Yes, that's correct. And their coach is like a legend in the Pittsburgh area. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder if they can get through that. There's also some speculation about their next round matchup against Illinois or Morehead State. Morehead State, that's a team that's been garnering a little bit of attention for an upset. I know with the metrics, I know people have talked about how they could maybe, give a run because you're supposed to, I think there's a stat about conference tournament or major conference tournament champions having struggles in March. So maybe BYU makes a run. I do worry about Iowa State in the bottom of that bracket. But you just never know in this time period. There's so many good teams that can make a run if the cards play right for them. I mean, I think this is the year the Mountain West finally breaks through and has at least one team make it through to Sweet 16, Elite 8. It's got to be. There's so many chances for them somewhere. Yeah. I mean, Nevada's got, if they can beat Arizona in the second round, if they can get through Dayton, who knows? New Mexico with Richard Pitino, you just don't know. I believe in the Mountain West, though.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I think you guys might be a little bit.
Oh, I just wasn't. I did not click the button to unmute. I was just saying, Jason Wyrick, an old previous sports director on here, saying he predicted us to lose to Oregon State. I do remember that. Jason, on that, you get 99 predictions wrong, you're going to get at least one of them right. I'm just kidding. I was impressed. Impressed.
That is a crazy one to get correct. I mean, that's mind-blowing that you pull that one out of the hat.
Absolutely. Also kind of VFL and RSS alum Maya McCoy won silver in 100-meter representing Liberia in the African Games. I remember Maya. She was on here my freshman year. UT track alum. Super awesome. Congrats to Maya. Shout out to her. But anyways, it is these predictions, you kind of want to have a prediction that nobody else has. Like you guys said, everyone's looking at Kansas's injury list. Everyone's thinking this. So you don't want to think that. But when Jason came in here and said UT's going down to Oregon State, we all thought he was crazy. Never know. I don't think anyone's saying that as far as St. Peter's. However, Jacquez is here. Jacquez, your thoughts on Tennessee's first round versus St. Peter's and just how how realistically the point that Tennessee should get to in March Madness?
I don't think Tennessee truly faces competition until, if I'm not mistaken, the Sweet 16, where there's a possibility they could play, Creighton and the South Carolina.
Creighton, South Carolina, and Oregon, who just won the Pac-12.
Trendy pick there.
But I ain't really too much worried about Oregon. I mean, how I look at it is okay, Tennessee lost first round. Everybody's devastated. But if I'm not mistaken, it was somebody in the undergrad group that was working as a sports reporter, and he was saying himself, he said, I want Tennessee to lose in the first round because it allows them to get rest, allows them to figure out who they're playing, and then the scout and everybody get their bodies back underneath together. It's a chip on their shoulder. And then he was saying that every number one team that usually is a number one seed never makes it as far as they wanted to. So he didn't want them to be a number one seed either. So how I'm looking at it, how the brackets fall in line, I don't think Tennessee face competition for real. I mean, it's still March Madness. I ain't going to blow it past them, but I don't think Tennessee face a competition for real until, like, you talk about Oregon and Creighton and in my opinion, the way everything is lining up, they play good basketball and they lock in, and everybody's playing as team. I put them.
Don't do it.
I put them in the semis. Because listen, nobody is better in Tennessee right now. Everybody has blown Tennessee out of the way. And in my mind, how I'm looking at it is, if I'm Tennessee, it's like everybody counted them in for a second until they lost that first round. Now everybody counted them out. So I might ride Tennessee all the way to the finals. I ain't lying.
Man, but what about like if they play like they did versus like these past few games?
Shoot.
You're a brave soul.
Hey, they do? My bracket bust then. I ain't got nothing to say.
Is that the only one you made is Tennessee in the finals? Is that it?
I'm taking Tennessee to the finals. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I like them. I like them against everybody in the bottom half.
Like that, but it's one that's just going to be sitting on the back burner. And if it happens, then I'll be like, "I told you so," but I ain't going to say it out loud.
I really believe that. I think they hit another gear in this tournament. I don't know why, but I believe they can hit another gear because the way you would have seen their faces, it was like one little post that was recording Tennessee going to the locker room, and every Tennessee player looked devastated. I don't think they want to feel that again. So I think they play their best. It's March. We don't know what's going to happen in March, but I think Tennessee gets real hot in March.
I hope so.
I can see them lighting it up, like lighting this whole tournament up.
Well, yeah, but it just something about the history that this team has and the history that even Coach Barnes has across the board is just like you can't skip over.
You couldn't take Kevin Durant to a Final Four.
Yeah, I couldn't take Kevin Durant of all people to a Final Four, and then you get some bad luck, especially with the late call against Purdue back in like 2019. That's still just kind of eats away at me sometimes because that team had just every making of a championship team, and they couldn't get past the hump. But the only difference is Dalton Connect. I mean, he can take over a game. I don't think any team under Coach Barnes at Tennessee has had a guy like that can score anywhere on the floor. He can play a little defense. He's not the best defensive player in the world. We all know that, but he's got the role players to work with and work around him that can also make some noise themselves. But if you get Connect on one off night and none of those role players step up like they should, I think the bags could be packing earlier than anybody expects.
You mentioned Connect, and I think a narrative that people aren't talking about enough. This is his first March Madness game.
Yeah.
He's never played in the tournament before.
And he didn't play great against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament.
So who knows how he's feeling right now, knowing that the season is on his back, and this is for real. This is do or die. I'm supposed to be a first-team All-American. How will he respond to the tournament?
I say, in my opinion, no pressure. The same way he put on that one-on-one down in Auburn, I say no pressure. He said in the interview, I want the best player on the court. So if he calling out the best player on the court, you don't think he's going to call out the best player on the court in March? And then we got to talk about it. When you start talking about March, he's trying to up his draft stock even more. So I think the ball's going in his hands. I think everybody in the stadium know the ball's going in his hands. And I think he's going to have to show the world why his name is Dalton Connect right now and why he should be a top 5 draft pick or a number 1 draft pick. So I think it's no pressure in my opinion, because in my opinion, he that dude. He believe he that dude. I mean, we've seen it through the whole season, so I don't see why we doubt him in March. If anything, I think he up the heat. I think Ziegler up the heat. Adu up the heat. I think everybody, Vesky ups the heat. And I'm trying to tell you, if y'all would have seen them faces on that Instagram post, I don't know if I think stuff's starting to get a lot hot down there.
I mean, like Chloe said, it does help that Ziegler's younger brother, who somehow is 6'5", just outreaches him in every margin.
No fair.
Exactly. He's on St. Peter's, and the only other offer that Ziegler had coming out of high school was St. Peter's. So I think that's some extra flame to at least get past this first round. And, maybe you can roll over some momentum. But, it's just been, we've seen some real inconsistency from the role players. That's just been the biggest thing for me. Like we've seen, Santiago Vescovi has taken such a backseat this year. He's been flying all over the floor, making plays and setting guys up perfectly. But he hasn't had the impact that, maybe we were thinking he was going to on the offensive side rolling in. And, Josiah Jordan James has had some off nights. He's had some big nights that have willed Tennessee to some wins. But beyond that, he's been pretty inconsistent. And you also, one big thing, especially in tournament time, foul trouble. We've seen some games where our bigs like Jonas Adu and Tobe Awaka get in trouble. And then you just start panicking and you can't really crawl out of that hole. There's just I think it might just be the Tennessee fan in me just thinking of everything that can go wrong. But everything that can go wrong has gone wrong with us in Tennessee's history. It just eats away at me, and I'm never comfortable sitting in front of a TV.
What else can we do in March?
Do you guys think this is kind of random? Do you guys think that like Zakai Ziegler's brother started playing basketball first, or that he did, and then
Ziegler definitely did. I think he said because
what year is his brother?
I think his brother's a freshman, if I'm not mistaken. But I think Ziegler said that he's always beat his brother in one-on-ones and stuff growing up. So I'm guessing with the head start, he's been able to do that to his brother throughout his life.
That makes sense. I guess to close out this segment, where do you guys, and Jacquez wants to know, because he kind of already said his, where do you guys think, realistically, let's pull up our most realistic bracket, not optimistic bracket like I was talking about earlier, where do you guys think Tennessee, realistically, their end of the road is in this March Madness tournament? What do you think team they're playing? What, obviously, round? What's your prediction?
If I was to go right now, I would probably say ceiling. I hate to say it, Final Four. Just because we've never been there before, but this team is different. I feel like we say that every year, but this one does feel different than the other difference, I guess you would say. That would mean you're probably having to play Creighton in the Sweet 16, who is really good up and down the roster. They are really solid on both ends, kind of like Tennessee. You'd have to get through Purdue in the Elite Eight, which is not a team I want to play again just because of the light whistle that is Zach Edey. I guess some people have been calling him a free throw merchant.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing to look at as well. But I think if Tennessee runs into either case, Kentucky or Houston in the Final Four, I don't think Tennessee wins either of those.
Would you rather make the Final Four and lose to Kentucky en route to their national champion, or just not make the Final Four at all?
Probably not make the Final Four.
I agree, but you brought up a good point there. When I think about the floor for this team, I want to start there. If we don't make the Sweet 16, I really wonder if the Vol fan base starts to question Rick Barnes and just pester him and be like, okay, this guy really is cursed. He has everything this year, even the star player, and he still can't make it through to the second weekend consistently. So I think for our basketball's just livelihood, we have to make the Sweet 16. And I think maybe we had to make history and get to our second ever Elite Eight. But the ceiling, I mean, you look at the metrics, you look at the feel of this team and how all across college basketball this year, there's only been one team that's really stood out of everybody else, and that's UConn. And even they've had suspect games. Why can't we compete for a national championship? I understand our history, but Purdue has that history, and they're in our region as well. So maybe one of us is going to break through and get to the Final Four. And you look at every other team. I mean, we've beaten Kentucky. Houston got blown out by Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Teams can go down, and why not us? Why can't it be us this year? I think our ceiling has to be the national championship. But for our livelihood, we've got to make the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So for me, I have, and this is kind of tragic, but I had to make another bracket to undo it because I hated picking this. But for me, I have in the Elite Eight, Tennessee going out to Purdue. I just think, like you said, Jace, Purdue is a team that in this bracket, I have winning over UConn in the championship. Purdue, I always have a bad taste in my mouth with Purdue because of both basketball and football in recent years, right? But I don't know. I think that if Tennessee gets to the Elite Eight, I will be ecstatic. But I will be just as mad that they went out to Purdue. But I do think realistically, that's where mine is going.
I believe Purdue will probably go out against either Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga could knock Purdue out if you ask me. When I'm looking down at Purdue's schedule, I don't see nobody on there that's just crazy, just outstanding in this tournament.
I guess at the beginning of the season right there, we played them, right?
They beat us in Marquette.
Yeah, they beat us early
on.
That was early on.
That was early on.
Yeah,
so, when we start talking the rest of the season, these teams that they're playing, I mean, it's a 5-point ball game against Michigan State and Purdue. I mean, so I'm taking Tennessee all the way. I'm gonna press it. What's up?
Okay.
I'm gonna press
Let's
it.
go. No, I'm excited.
He like,
With that, it is almost 7:30. Might maybe talk about basketball if we have time at the end here, but we will move on to some baseball. Again, I want to say we are giving away a 6-pack of tickets to see baseball tonight, SEC home opener. Not tonight, sorry, Friday night. We're giving away the tickets tonight. The game is on Friday night versus Ole Miss, and it's a 6-pack of tickets to see that game here in Knoxville at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So you just have to be here at Fieldhouse, and we will draw the winner at 8. It is completely free to enter. We're at Fieldhouse Social. That's 2525 University Commons Way. And we thank them so much for their support. You still have time, about 30 minutes here before we draw the winner. And with that, we will take a short break. We'll see you on the other side. You're listening to Rock Solid Sports on Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, UT's College Brock.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, linked up at WUTKRadio.com.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans offers lunch daily with a full and late night menu and is the pre- and post-game on-campus location for Vols and Smokies baseball and Lady Vols softball, MLB, Pro Soccer, and the Preds on the big screens. 21 and over only, please. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays, now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 for The Alternative, featuring 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station that first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt country days, like Green on Red, the Blasters, the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Gillian Welch, Wilco, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Margot Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, Turnpike Troubadours, and Charlie Crockett. You'll also get classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Byrds. And there's local Americana by R.B. Morris, Cruz Contreras, Trisha Jean Brady, Adeem the Artist, and others. There's always Patsy Cline at 9 and chances to win Bliss gift cards and passes to upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical clock tick-tock, tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss, and Bliss Home. And only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. It's Wednesday night. We're here at our wonderful sponsor, Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. We thank them for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, a 21-foot digital big screen TV indoors, and plenty more TVs throughout the restaurant and a back patio. Open at 11 a.m. Wednesdays through Sundays, closed on Mondays, and they're open again on Tuesdays. And now, again, I will say on the air that we are having currently a giveaway for a 6-pack of tickets to Friday night's home SEC opener versus Ole Miss. We're doing that right now until 8 p.m. Still got a little bit of time if you want to enter. You do have to be at Fieldhouse Social and just fill out this little card with our email that's how we will send your tickets to you if you do win. And we'll be drawing the winner right around 8 before the show goes off the air. And with that, let's get into our baseball talk. Baseball and softball, obviously, both having quite the season so far. Tennessee baseball won last night a lot, but over the weekend they did have their first SEC series on the road, right, to Alabama. And it didn't go exactly, how we would have hoped. First game, 11-3, Tennessee wins. Then they lose on Saturday, 6-3, and then the last game, 7-6. Alabama wins the series. What do you guys think really went wrong here after Tennessee beats Alabama 11-3 as kind of what we all expected? That we look at that score, we're like, yeah, that's pretty much what we would expect in that match, and then goes on to lose the series to Alabama over the weekend. What happened here? What does Tennessee need to do to get better over this SEC play? Because it's not going to be an easy stretch here.
Yeah, I think the good thing is it's very early. There's still some time to have these hiccups. It's very early, and Alabama is a really solid program right now. I think they're number 11 in the country now after taking the series over the Vols. But for Tennessee, it kind of felt like after that Friday night where the ball was flying out of the park, they just kind of hit a stop. And, this is a team where so far this year we've been able to see them put together some small ball hits where they're hitting singles and doubles and driving runs in around the bases. But that really wasn't the case. It kind of felt like they were trying to live and die by the long ball for the most part over the weekend. So I think that's something that went wrong, as well as some pitching. I know on the Saturday game, of course, Drew Beam, your Saturday starter for probably the whole season, if I'm not mistaken, he had a really rough start to get things going. He gave up those 6 runs really early, but beyond that, he looked really solid and ended up getting out like 13 of the last 15 guys he faced or something like that. So he was able to round it out, but got shaken up really early. That was one thing. And as well on Sunday, Tennessee has a lead going into, I believe, the 8th inning, just really, really late in that game, and just I think they left Nate Snead in there a little bit too long. He was pitching great, and then he let up that 3-run homer that ended up being the game-winning runs for the Crimson Tide. I think that is also something beyond that. Not too much to rag on about. They got some redemption last night against Xavier. I believe it was 10-2 or 11-3, something like that. So they were able to get the offense rolling once again. But I think it sort of comes down to confidence on the mound, as well as at the plate, sort of struggling here throughout the week.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that the SEC series are here. It almost feels like baseball isn't in swing yet, but it's time. This was a big series. I hate to see we couldn't get it done, but yeah, this team's still figuring it out. I'm not too worried about it. I know it's hard for a team like ours with the offensive firepower we have to only score 3 runs and really just have to leave a bunch of guys on base, I believe. I'm not sure. I missed the start
that was
of that
also
game,
a big struggle on the weekend.
For a team like ours, we got to be able to bring our guys home because I feel like our pitching we're still a little shaky on the pitching front. I know we've got guys like Beam, but we're still trying to find somebody to come out of the bullpen other than Kirby to really get us out of those binds. And I hate that Sunday game. You put yourself in position to win the series. You just didn't finish. That's all you can ask for is a chance in a competitive league like the SEC where any team can beat any team in baseball. But that's a good Alabama team. We're still good. Nothing to worry about. Got our redemption on Tuesday, like you said. And I believe Blake Burke had a home run that put him 2 away.
Yeah, 2
away.
away.
From the
he
record.
tied, I believe it was Todd Helton for, I think, 3rd all-time in Tennessee history. So he's he's climbing the ladder, and within probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, he'll be the ringleader.
So it's exciting to see that history firsthand. But big weekend series coming up against Ole Miss. If we can win this series, we'll right back on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, obviously, in my opinion, nothing to worry about. First SEC series here, of course. And, I mean, like you guys said, it was disappointing. You know, the second game, you're like, oh, Tennessee loses by a run. They'll win the series here. They'll close it out. But they weren't able to. But, I mean, it's baseball. You have a crazy amount of games, you know, of the season. And I think that what I have seen from this team so far is better, that like I'm more confident about this team than not. With that being said, they beat Xavier 10-2 last night. Nothing unexpected there, and they will go into play Ole Miss this weekend. Ole Miss, as far as baseball, they are number 17. Is that correct right now in most of the baseball polls?
I know in like the D1 baseball, which I think is what like the rankings that they'll show on like the TV, I guess scoreboard thing. I don't think they're ranked, but I think they were like the first or second team in votes that wasn't ranked.
Right. We needed an AP baseball poll because I really can't agree on it.
Yeah.
Because there's the two polls there. Yeah. But Ole Miss, not a bad team at all. We'll see where this goes come this week. I mean, Jace, Alex, you guys, any predictions for this series here in first home SEC series here in Knoxville?
I think Tennessee is going to go out and win the series. I think that's one thing. I haven't seen too much out of the Ole Miss pitching, but I'm guessing it's usually pretty good. They usually are pretty good. They had a couple hiccup years after, or last year was a hiccup year after winning the national title back in 2022. But it's very, it's still an SEC team. We're going to see some hot bats for sure out of that lineup. But I think if Tennessee can get back home, I know they started what is an 8-game homestand last night. So they can get back into the confines of Lindsey Nelson, get comfortable once again, because I know not this weekend, but the next one you get another hot offense in Georgia. So I think if you can build some momentum right here and you can get rolling into this third 4-week meat of the order, if you would, of SEC play, I think this is the time to do it, especially against a team that's still sort of vulnerable after last season.
Yeah, I fully anticipate us to be competitive in every game of this series. Definitely should take home the series victory. Obviously, with all the distractions of basketball this week, it's hard to forget, or it's a little easy to forget about baseball being played. But I know Vol Nation will show up and show out. I know it'll be a packed house each day of these baseball games. And I just want to see our starting pitching go and have consistent outings, at least get to the middle frames, so that way, and just keep us out of binds. I don't want to have to utilize those kind of guys that we still have question marks on, because you kind of save those guys for your midweek actions where you can see what guys are really made of. But I think we can at least take 2 out of 3, maybe 3 out of 3, keep the home win streak alive.
I think so too. I'm confident in this team. I think they'll win the series here. And I think they'll just keep getting better over. Like you guys said, it's kind of crazy that, SEC plays here in Diamond Sports, but I'm all for it. I'm really excited, and it's going to be crazy when you get down to some of those teams, LSU and Vandy, towards the later half of SEC play. So with that, that's baseball for us. Softball, also an SEC play. Started out this past weekend at Missouri. With Missouri, they won all of those games a lot. 4-0, 8-2, 9-0. They play their midweeker on Thursday in North Carolina. Then they're in South Carolina this weekend to play South Carolina, which I also think will go down pretty well for this team, because the Lady Vols are on fire right now. I was looking at the SEC, there's really nobody. I mean, Alabama typically is a pretty good softball team, but as far as the SEC, there's nobody that I see going down. There's nobody that I see really winning the series against the Lady Vols, because they're just on fire right now.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think they're riding. I think I saw that they posted the softball team is leading the nation in consecutive wins right now. They've got 14. They took over what was Oklahoma's after Oklahoma lost to, I think, like Louisiana of all teams. So good things rolling for the Lady Vols right now. I know Laura Mealer had a really big week this past week. Carlin Pickens is like back-to-back SEC Pitcher of the Week. Things are really going well for the Lady Vols right now. Of course, you're going to get the consistent play of Kiki Malloy. She's had a big year so far. Another one so far, I think Riley West really started off hot, has sort of simmered down here, but really looking forward to seeing her get back out there. But overall, this team should win the SEC once again. Like you said, there's really outside of Alabama. I know Arkansas has had some good teams throughout the last couple years, but really shouldn't be that much of a competition, especially with the amount of just experience and lethality that's in this lineup on the offensive and defensive side.
Yeah.
This team hits dingers.
Yeah, they do.
They are impressive. I'm surprised they're only, ranked 7th or 8th in all of the polls. This team is good. They've got the pitching to back up the big swingers and Kiki Malloy. I fully anticipate them to make another trip back to Oklahoma City for the College World Series because this team can go deep, and I believe in them. I'm excited to get out to watch them play here in the upcoming weeks for sure.
Absolutely. And something I will say, even though this really sounds like a cliche, but this Lady Vols team does have so much depth. It's kind of crazy, especially because I've been watching them over the past few years and it's only grown. Like, you still have Kiki Malloy in herself, which is huge. You have McKinney Gibson, Zeta, the list goes on. And then you have, Ashley Rogers leaves, but you still have 2 great pitchers that you can play any day. So, I mean, it's just crazy the depth this team has. Yeah, and I also think last weekend, just awesome how there was within like a minute of each other, both grand slams hit at both the ballparks. That was just awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, so Tennessee baseball hit a grand slam, and then literally like 40 seconds later, there was one over at not Lindsay, no, Sherry Parker Lee. So, I mean, there's good things to be said about both of these teams. I'm optimistic, and I'm more excited for Diamond Sports than I have been in a while, I will say. Both of them. But with that, if anybody has anything else to say?
I mean, one thing I can say about the ladies softball team, they're very consistent. Like, they play with a whole lot of poise. You're going to see their coach, like, getting all rowdy and everything whenever, like, you know what I'm saying, has been close. A lot of the games haven't been close. But, like, when you just talk about when they haven't hitting balls in a 1 or 2 or 3 innings, like, everybody's still relaxed. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's still – and then Kiki Mulo, one thing I love about her, she going to steal a base every time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she going to steal a base every time. She don't mind sliding. And I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
keep on sliding.
She's so fast.
But, yeah, I can see them definitely going all the way for sure.
Yeah, I know you said something about Coach Karen Weekly. I saw her on Instagram, of course. Like you said, we got done, or on Twitter, X. I don't know. On that, after the series sweep against Mizzou, she tweeted something about, I guess, a shot towards Coach Drinkwitz over at Mizzou football about standing on business. So I think her interaction with the fans really started riling some people up. Maybe get some more people excited about this softball team.
That's awesome. I mean, it was awesome too. Wasn't there something about the Missouri basketball game? Drinkwitz was there on the sideline, something like that.
Oh yeah, apparently he was like yelling at one of the players or something, and somebody said, "I don't even know who you are." Some, just back and forth between that nerd. So
that's always fun. But Karen Weekly, she's awesome. She's tough, and she has taken this team from I don't want to say nothing, but basically nothing to one of the best teams in the country. So super excited for that. This show is going by faster, so just me. We have about 15 minutes left. We will switch over to some Lady Vols basketball, maybe some women's bracketology here, and maybe a little bit of NFL news, VFLs in the NFL news, if you haven't seen lately. Super exciting stuff. Stay tuned. You're listening to Volunteer Radio. This is 90.3 The Rock.
The Rock thanks Fieldhouse Social, the Wednesday home for rock solid sports, for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, plus a 25-foot big screen at University Commons Way. Fieldhouse Social welcomes sports fans and others alike to enjoy dishes like the citrus marinated chicken, grilled Faroe Island salmon, and smoked ribs. FieldhouseSocial.com or on Twitter and Facebook.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, linked up at WUTKRadio.com.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the campus headquarters for food, brews, pool, shots, darts, sports, and more fun. Tuesday night is team trivia night, and Thursday nights are for bingo. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays, now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WTK's Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WTKRadio.com.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 for The Alternative, featuring 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station that first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt country days, like Green on Red, The Blasters, The Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Gillian Welch, Wilco, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Margot Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, Turnpike Troubadours, and Charlie Crockett. You'll also get classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Byrds. And there's local Americana by R.B. Morris, Cruz Contreras, Trisha Jean Brady, Adeem the Artist, and others. There's always Patsy Cline at 9 and chances to win Bliss gift cards and passes to upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical clock tick-tock, tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss, and Bliss Home. And only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. It's Wednesday night. I'm Chloe here with Jacquez here at Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. We still have a giveaway going on. Probably going to draw that winner in a little less than 10 minutes before the end of our show at 8. We have some more people have entered in the past few minutes, as you can see here. And I'm really excited for this. A great turnout, and whoever wins, 6-pack of tickets can bring all their friends on Friday. Like I said, a little bit more time before we give that away. It's a 6-pack of tickets to the home opener, SEC opener, Tennessee baseball versus Ole Miss on Friday. Let's get into some women's basketball here really quick. I had a fun time filling out my women's bracket. Tennessee plays Green Bay on Saturday at 12 p.m. when most of those games will be tipping off. And, I think as far as Green Bay is concerned, I think that this is, a team that Tennessee definitely stands their chances against in this. Personally, the challenge for me comes in when the Lady Vols move into round 2. This is, we've talked about this team all season. This is a team that definitely has had its up and downs. It's had really good moments, but no significant wins, really. I have Tennessee. I'm just going to say I have Tennessee going out against NC State in the round of 32. How do you guys think the Lady Vols will fare in this tournament?
I think it's a more favorable draw than not. Considering all the speculation, now we've talked about on this show multiple times that are we even going to make the tournament? Do we sneak in? And we got a 6 seed. That's a lot higher than I thought we were going to go, but that's because of some decent play down the stretch. But NC State, not a powerhouse. I mean, it's not like we're going against Iowa in an 8 or 9 spot in the second round. Who knows? Maybe we can make a little noise, make it to the Sweet 16, maybe make Kelly Harper a little bit safer if she's safe at all. But, yeah, the women's tournament's going to be a fun one. Shout out to the UTM Skyhawks playing in the first four tomorrow.
Hawks, baby. I forgot they were playing in the play-in to play against Caitlin Clark.
That's exactly
Let's
right.
Go.
And
Coach McMillan, he coached me in youth baseball.
Really?
I love that dude.
Wow, that's my local college team.
I'm from
20
Martin.
minutes.
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shoot. That's awesome. But a girl on their team, I played co-ed soccer with her back in high school. She played in the rival school. So it's really cool that if they win their first four, that a girl that I know will be guarding Caitlin Clark potentially. So shout out to them. Best of luck. But I'm excited for this women's tournament. Lots of storylines.
Oh, yeah. First round, I think it really shouldn't be an issue, especially how this team has been playing. I think one thing you got to roll in here with is, you're going to have that bad taste in your mouth from that South Carolina game where you were 1 second away from taking out the number one team in the country. I think that's something to be proud of, and it aches your heart a little bit, but that should give you a little bit of fire going into this tournament. So I think first round should be fine. The one thing that I think Tennessee has the upper hand in against NC State is they've got a lot of size. NC State really doesn't have that many tall players whatsoever. I think they've got people topping out at maybe 6'3", 6'4", where Tennessee's got Jillian Hollingshed and Tamari Key, both 6'5" and 6'6", really able to stretch things out and make their presence known down low. I think if they can get the boards going like they have been recently, and also get some threes rolling from the guards, I think Tennessee should be able to overcome that hump that is NC State and make a move towards that second weekend.
Yeah, I can definitely see it happening. Especially the way they played against South Carolina. It's just when I look back at the schedule and Tennessee teams that are 3-seeded, even 4-seeded, really Tennessee has not had been able to get any significant wins. But because we talked about this on Friday, I think with Riley, something Tennessee does is a lot. The Lady Vols, they kind of play down to their competition, I feel like. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And if Tennessee makes it to the Sweet 16, I definitely will be excited because it's, the Lady Vols have not had the best season, but there's definitely a lot of talent there. Like you said, size plays a huge role. This team, Lady Vols, always tall, always a huge team. So
deserves something.
It'll be exciting. Yeah,
I will say this: the way Tennessee played South Carolina, that was probably the best 2 games I've seen the Tennessee women's play. I mean, when you talk about a Busby, like the game was in their hands, right? She didn't step up. Okay, cool. But when you talk about you playing defense, you talking about everybody scoring, Rakia Jackson balling, like. Everybody around the team is playing. The coach is coaching her butt off. This is going to make some eyes turn real big when I say this. But I got Tennessee women's basketball going to the Final Four. I mean, I don't see who could beat them. If you start thinking about the SEC tournament, they shook a lot of us in the SEC tournament. We didn't even think they was going to make it to play South Carolina. And, I mean, when we start looking up to the people they're playing, how I'm looking at it, okay, they beat Green Bay, they play NC State. I don't think NC State really played nobody. They played Notre Dame twice. Notre Dame beat them. They beat Notre Dame. We beat Notre Dame. I think we rolled the dice. We win. Then we go over and we start looking at either it could be Texas or Alabama, Florida State. Florida State play a fast pace. Alabama girls, I think we did lose to them, but I think we get them a second round. We win. So, I mean, I like
we beat them once and we lost earlier in the season to them. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I know the most recent matchup we kind of I guess dominated them for the last 20 minutes of that when we beat Alabama in the SEC.
You heard it here first. Tennessee Lady Vols to the Final Four.
No, I'm serious. I mean, when you start thinking about the way they played in the SEC tournament, I mean, I thought they played like South. Even with South Carolina, if you ask me, they should have been in the finals. So I'm telling you, if they still have that taste in their mouth and they come in March Madness again, anything can happen. So nobody's counting on Tennessee. So ain't nobody counting. Listen, I'm not even a Tennessee fan, and I'm counting on Tennessee. So how I'm looking, I can see them in the Final Four. Them versus South Carolina again. I want South Carolina to win because I want South Carolina versus LSU one more time. But,
That brings me to this really quick before we draw the winner here. I'm pretty sure there's 2 main winners that people have picked in their women's bracket, South Carolina or Iowa. How are you guys feeling if it does come down to South Carolina versus Iowa? who takes this, because South Carolina has been super consistent. Last year, not so much. Iowa this year, Caitlin Clark is in full swing. I mean, what do you guys think?
If they can take all aspects of that Iowa team out that's not named Caitlin Clark, I think South Carolina will win. But if they let those role players start rolling in as well as Caitlin Clark dropping a good 30 on you, I think South Carolina is really going to struggle through that one if it comes down to those two.
I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. Caitlin Clark. She is the GOAT. I have really enjoyed watching her play this year, and I anticipate that they can take it home, even though everybody else anticipates that as well. I'm so excited to watch.
Would be really cool to see her final year in college get that championship for sure. Now, I think we ought to pick a winner here because we're running down. I don't see anyone approaching me. Yeah, do you want to pick a winner, Jacquez? So this is our winner for our six-packer tickets.
Sneak my name in there.
Yeah. We had a lot enter here.
I'm going down to the bottom.
Segment.
I'm going down to the bottom.
Yeah.
In the corner. Yeah.
This one?
Here we go. Who we got? John Jordan.
John Jordan is our winner.
Good name.
Congrats to John. Yeah, that is a cool name.
So it got Jordan in it. He says he's a Tennessee fan, so Tennessee women's and men's wins it all.
Look at right now. You jump on the books and parlay that thing, you might be walking out with a house.
Hey, I might need to do a little something. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways, congrats to John. You will be going to the baseball game this Friday. 6-pack of tickets to Ole Miss. I haven't looked at the weather, but I think it's supposed to be pretty decent. So should be a pretty decent weekend here on Rocky Top. And with that, I guess we will close out our show. Congrats. Shout out, of course, Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings in San Francisco now. Don't know how this will turn out. I never know when Josh Dobbs is there. Jawan Jennings obviously has made his career. Josh Dobbs, though, I wish him the best, and we will see how that goes. But yeah, I just want to squeeze that little bit of news in there. I think that came out Friday evening, or Monday evening, sorry. Anyways, thanks for tuning in to our show. More March Madness on Friday. Stick around. The Alternative is up next. You're listening to Volunteer Radio on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.